am finally starstruck. For the last 18 years, Hollywood superstar Goldie Hawn has been on a mission to help children who are suffering with anxiety and depression.
And with a new generation of young people living through the coronavirus pandemic, Goldie says it is crucial now more than ever for families and children to receive support. And Goldie joins us now from Los Angeles. Well, it's absolutely lovely to see you. Alistair is particularly excited. It has been... We've spoken to you before, actually, over the course of this pandemic, Goldie. You talked about how emotionally affected you were by people who weren't in great circumstances, living conditions. Your focus right now is on children. And it is true, isn't it, that this generation of children have been knocked for six by what's been happening over the past year. What are your particular worries?
Well, the problem, of course, is that they're in a state of mind that they don't know how to get themselves out of. So the idea is that we have our children to start early. So when I started the program, I started it when 9/11 happened, just knowing there was going to be some, basically things had changed forever, and our children were going to have to adapt, and there was going to be what they call silent distress. That was then. But, children feel everything. So then I thought, we have to help these children so they can, as they grow up, they can face certain issues and problems with a healthier mind and more resources, right? So teaching them about the brain, teaching them, how to regulate their emotions, but also how to reduce stress and reach a more optimum state of mind is a tool. It's a tool, and they understand their brain and how their brain works, and it helps them learn. And there's a lot of things. So early brain development, I think, is extremely important in schools, that we actually are learning these things. These are how to cope with life. And now, when this pandemic happened, it gobsmacked everyone. I mean, we didn't know how to handle our children. We were dealing with ourselves. There are so many issues with parenting, and how do I handle this? And I've lost my job. And I mean, it's just a plethora of problems.
Goldie, do you think that the impact on our mental health of COVID and the pandemic will be, in terms of the long-term and medium-term impact, will be worse than the impact you saw on American children from 9/11?
Yes, I do. Because they basically were incarcerated in their own homes. There was a lot of things that were going on that we weren't even reported. So there was frustration. There was probably in some ways very stressed parenting. Children didn't feel safe oftentimes. They couldn't see their friends, social development, and those kind of things that they had for their neurology and their neural growth. It didn't quite happen. Now, I don't believe that the time period that they went through is going to be a lasting, damaging effect, because I think that we have to learn, obviously, how to deal with it. Some children will, but that period of time can be made up. I don't think, but the issue here is who's doing what? Where are we focusing our help? Our mental health facilitators, our teachers in the classroom, what are we teaching them? What are they learning? I mean, today it's different. Yes, we need math, we need English, we need all of it. But the well-being and the sense of resiliency and okayness and well-being of our children is everything, because they're the ones that are going to have to deal with the rest of the world as they grow up. So I guess
your MindUp charity, you're operating in the UK as well, aren't you? And in Ireland. Sorry, I said your MindUp organisation, you're operating in the UK and Ireland as well as around the world.
We are, and we've been there for many, many years, well before COVID. And what's happened now is that more than ever, of course, this program and programs like them are really vitally important of how we are looking at our children. And this is what we have. Early brain development is everything. So can you stick a Band-Aid on anything now? No. Can you get underneath some of these issues our children are having and serve them with tools to be able to get themselves out of their ruts, look at a more optimistic point of view, give them the okay to be okay, and be there for them? And I think this is extremely important. I mean, I don't want to make it light and airy. It's not. Okay. But these aspects, we have to mitigate them with knowledge and understanding and cognition. This isn't just, are you feeling bad? No. Okay. If I feel bad, here's how I can actually focus and relax myself so I can actually experience a better sense of wellness. Okay. So I think those of us who had, like, for instance, when I was young, I became depressed. I was 21 and I had rising to success. I know it sounds terrible, but it's a very, very difficult thing. I didn't necessarily want that. Now, in doing so, I was very depressed. And I had a lot of these issues where I couldn't even go outside in public. This is something that for me, I worked through. I went to a doctor. I went to a psychologist. I learned about quieting my mind and what happens to the brain. And then I studied the brain. And when you look at all these things that in the petri dish have been proven in the university that this works, I didn't understand why we weren't taking it out and putting it in our classrooms for our children to enjoy, to learn, and to be able to have a much better sense of self-regulation. So,
Goldie,
yeah, go ahead.
well, that is just very interesting that you talk about that the moment when you had huge success and fame at the age of 21 was the moment where you became very depressed. And that's an interesting thing, because yesterday we talked to Max George, who is a member of a hugely successful boy band. And he said literally that moment where he experienced that explosion of success was the moment where he started to feel at his lowest. And I think for a lot of people, they don't understand how when you have the thing that most people, especially young people, fame, adulation, validation, how that doesn't bring happiness.
Well, happiness is an interesting thing, because it's a state of mind. Happiness is not of in itself, and it doesn't live unto itself. Happiness is something that we actually look at. We churn it like you churn butter and create butter and cream out of milk. You literally have to understand that happiness is a choice, right? So unfortunately, I didn't want to be a big deal. I wanted to go home. I wanted to marry a dentist. I wanted to be a dancing school teacher. I did have a plan, right? But so I didn't have delusions of grandeur on any level. I was extremely realistic. The problem is that I was a dancer, and then things changed. So for every one of us, we have a different reason why we may feel low, depressed, anxious, a lot of these things. But all I want to say is that if you really are unhappy, we do need to be able to tender ourselves, to go to a doctor. Don't be embarrassed. Mental health is real. I mean, if I broke my arm, I would go to a doctor. If I fell and hurt my hip, I would go to a doctor. Our brains are an organ. They are things that we can help ourselves, and doctors can help us. And we should never be ashamed to say, I'm feeling sad.
Well, Goldie, you have given massive amounts of happiness to lots of people. And I want to tell you something. You starred in the first 12-rated film I ever saw. There's a Girl in My Soup. It was the first time I ever went on my own. And I've got to tell you, the kissing scenes with Peter Sellers were among the funniest but sexiest moments of modern, it's not modern anymore, half a century ago cinema. So thank you.
Oh my God, that was a great experience. And we did break up a lot. There's a lot of laughter on that set, and a lot of the ability to watch yourself. And when you're acting, oftentimes you can come out of yourself and witness what you're doing. And one of the scenes when we were kissing on the couch, and he was taking his shoe off at the same time, we both started roaring with laughter. We couldn't stop. We had to break for lunch because it was just too funny. So those kind of things that are just like a very, very amazing. There's a lot of people who, when we're talking about Mental Health Awareness Month, is sort of You look at this and you say, well, there's a lot of people who are really funny and they make people laugh. And there also, a lot of those people aren't always happy. And I think it's important to understand as we see them, like Goldie's not always happy. Peter Sellers wasn't always happy. I mean, Steve Martin isn't always happy. There's a lot of us that go through ups and downs in life. And I think that's an area that I want to share, because there's a lot of people out there that are feeling devastated, that are feeling deeply frightened, very unhappy and depressed. And all I'm saying is that if I could be an advocate for your wellness, for your ability to witness that you've got something to take care of, that you be brave and you do it.
Well, one of the things is social contact, of course. That's one of the things that enables us to feel better about ourselves, and it's one of the things we haven't had over the course of the pandemic. We only got told yesterday, Goldie, that we, from next Monday, will be allowed to hug our family members again. Over in the States, we saw pictures of you at the weekend. Of course, it was Mother's Day, Mothering Sunday in the States. Saw lovely pictures of you and your daughter Kate and family members. There's a slightly different rule there, isn't there? Where if you've been vaccinated, you are able to have more contact.
Yes, and they're getting a little bit more, beginning to be more aware of the fact that that vaccination, it's also lowering our cases. It's showing itself to be, improving itself to be extremely successful in being able to manage the contagion and also our death rate. So yes, the answer to that is yes. Yeah. I will say that because we're vaccinated, we still are listening to the news. It's not good. We've got a lot of people in India. It was a tragedy, the world, and getting the new contagion. This is not over yet. And I think that part of us want to just jump for joy. And then the other ones want to go, it's great. I feel good about it. But I just want to stay kind of close to my family, even though I am vaccinated. Yeah. Vaccination has given us a great sort of, our wings have spread more, right? But, I'm still wearing a mask. I still respect others. And, there's just a way of looking at life and saying what really matters. What matters is the health of our family and the health of everybody else. So it's so easy to put on a mask. I don't care. I just care about getting rid of this so we can all live happily without fear.
Well, Goldie, can we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all the entertainment you've given us and for all the amazing work you do in mental health. And I hope to see you in the flesh soon.
I will. I'm going to make it over there.
Goodness. Thank you.
Yeah, that's another obstacle that we have to overcome in this long battle against this wretched virus. Goldie Hawn, thank you very much. Absolutely lovely to see you. Until I read about this, MindUp is the campaign aimed at children between the ages of 3 and 14 with enormously positive results. And it is here, 250 schools in the UK and Ireland. Goldie, lovely to see you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. For more information and advice on how to look after your mental well-being, go to itv.com/Britain Get Talking.